The recent tragedies that have occurred over the last year, most notably the Aurora shooting and the Newtown tragedy, have caused debate all around the country about how to prevent these kinds of disasters from happening and how to keep our children safe. Attleboro State Representative Paul Heroux recently held a panel discussion featuring a range of local experts on the topic. The panel discussed issues including sexual abuse, gun control, mental health, and more in order to identify problems, dispel myths, and educate the community. We spoke with Representative Heroux to find out more about the event.
Basically, this is keeping kids safe. I used to work with kids for 7 years. I worked in jail, I worked in prison, and so it's kind of an area of interest of mine that is personal.
This event was basically an event where I wanted to bring in local experts on keeping kids safe. People who are part of the community, people who have an interest in the community, people who work in the community, and I asked them some questions that was relevant to their field of expertise. We had two experts on sex abuse and sex offenders. We had somebody from the DA's office talking about guns. We had somebody from ARC talking about mental health and violence. And we also had a bullying expert. All of these people come from the community, and they're all professionals and experts on these areas. I took a brief moment to talk about the legislation that I filed as it applies to keeping kids safe in terms of the sex offender registration and measuring programs. And the whole idea with this was just to identify ways to dispel myths and educate the public on the facts. Yeah, I thought that it was particularly interesting how much attention, how many questions went to our bullying expert, Chris Rappold. I was really surprised about that. There was a lot of interest in that, and that was pretty interesting. People need to know the facts, because a lot of what we see on the news is a lot of hyperbole, it's a lot of fear-mongering, and what I wanted to do is bring in a group of people who are from our community, who have an interest in our community, who are going to also educate, about what the facts are. Since Newtown there's been a lot of discussion about guns and keeping kids safe from guns at schools, but there's also been a lot of discussion, at least almost every week or every other week we see different things talking about, in the Sun Chronicle or in the Patch, identifying different high-profile examples of sex abuse. So that was another one. Bullying is on the mind of every parent, anytime, always, and so it's important to have them in as well. Our expert on mental health and violence, that was somebody, I thought was really important to bring that person on board as well, from the ARC, to dispel myths about people who have autism or Asperger's syndrome as being more likely to be violent, which is not the case. They're not.